pole on
My
the
guys,
floor?
why would I wear yellow boots?
Can we have a little music with that?
They're Louboutins, so we're just...
That's very funny. Okay, anyway, so RC goes camping. I hadn't seen that either. And let's try in a serious moment. By the way, that's quite an old photo of you.
Oh, yeah, like my first year here.
Everything. Okay, tell us some of the things you observed. How about this guy?
I think Bijan Robinson is going to be the top running back in all of the NFL. The way that he's been used by Zach Robinson at practice, splitting him out, him playing slot, motioning him out of the backfield, into the backfield, getting the ball in his hands as much as possible to take some of the pressure off of Michael Penix Jr., be able to utilize the rest of those skilled players. I believe he's going to have an offensive player of the year type year.
So, Lewis, I find myself thinking about this because you and I do the draft. We see who they take every single year. Is there a team that has more skill position talent, at least in theory, than the Atlanta Falcons do with the guys they've drafted at the top of the draft year after year? If they ever put it together, that offense could be scary.
Yeah, look, this Atlanta flies under the radar a lot. But this football team, like, especially on defense, considering all the firepower that they have kind of brought in, the youth movement, I think expectations are probably a little bit low for this football team considering what they have on offense. Yeah, I think this is one of those teams when we're talking about this team that can sneak up on some people. This is one of them for sure.
There are teams that have more skill position talent on offense. One of them is the Buccaneers, who win this division every year. And they take these guys in later rounds and build up the line and the defense in their first round picks. There might be a lesson in it.
But look, Tampa Bay's legit. There's no question about that. But this team has high-end frontline players at premium positions that can just rip you. No, Atlanta, look, I think if you're Arthur Blank down there, you're saying, hey, Raheem, it's time to go now. It's really time to go. All the youth is ready to go.
Pick in the draft. I mean, he was supposed to completely. No, he hasn't. Not even close. And Drake London, who they drafted, and obviously Bijan. Let's see if the quarterback unlocks some of those. All right, the next one, RC, you found in LA.
Yeah, Devontae Adams is going to have a resurgent year for the Los Angeles Rams. You can tell when someone feels slighted, when they feel disrespected. And when you talk about some of the things he was able to do, let me tell you this. I saw him probably at about midnight at Zero Bond this year.
Okay.
And you know what we sat around doing? Watching practice film. He was talking about the way he was setting up leverage, the opportunities that Sean McVay is going to get him to give him the read coverages and do whatever he wanted. And Matthew Stafford was throwing that ball. He was like, see, Matthew already told me he can hit me here, or I can work this guy this way. Devontae Adams is ready to show people exactly who he still is and what we saw at the end of last season. And the other piece of this is Cooper Kupp wasn't the old Cooper Kupp last year. He wasn't the guy that won the Triple Crown. Devontae Adams takes that spot, and I believe Sean McVay will utilize him to the best of his abilities.
Sean Payton is the guy who, when you talk to coaches in production meetings, really gives you a tutorial like it's football 101. Devontae Adams is the player equivalent of that. When you talk to him in a production meeting, you're just like, do you have any more time? Can you stay for a little bit longer? Because he teaches you the game. And he's so smooth with it, with the way he communicates. Like, you just root for this dude. I mean, and he, you know what? He plays the way his personality is. Like, he's a very smooth dude, and he plays that way. Like, it's effortless. Rooting for him. I think he can play for a long time.
This is my favorite offseason addition in the entire league because of what it said. Like, he fits right in with Stafford, right in with McVay. They gave up on a franchise icon, their Super Bowl MVP, and replaced him with this guy because they feel like at this point in his career, he's a better fit. I think it's going to be magical out there.
All right, one more. RC goes camping. The juxtaposition you noticed in the practices of two teams.
I got to watch the Detroit Lions in a joint practice with the Miami Dolphins. And the sense of urgency for the Detroit Lions, the attention to detail, the way that they made sure all of their stars were doing the most consistent, dirtiest of works shows you exactly who they are as compared to what the Miami Dolphins were doing. Tyreek was a little banged up. Jalen Waddle had a back. Amon-Ra St. Brown went 5 times in one-on-ones, and he won every single rep. When teams were in the red zone, when it got to the goal line, the physicality in which they showed said there will be no step back. There will be no regression in losing Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. What they were able to do was, by expecting those guys to be gone a year earlier, they groomed offense coordinator Johnny Morton. They groomed defense coordinator Kelvin Shepard, and they have not missed a beat.
Yeah, that's grit. That's what that is. That comes from the top. And I know people say, oh, those cliche words, you football guys. So that's what it is. And see, I'll tell you, we get to see Miami early on in the season, week 3, I believe, against the Jets. And I'm telling you what, They already look. You saw Mike McDaniel is trying to change this perception. Yeah. You saw it in their preseason game against Chicago where they had first and goal and they run the ball 4 straight times. He's trying to send his team a message saying, "Look, we got to do something." Yep. And this is an interesting one. I'm glad you pointed this one out though, because Detroit has that. Remember that press conference in the beginning with Dan Campbell and we all laughed?
Biting kneecaps.
Look,
there it is.
But it's who they are.
There it is.
Here's the thing about them that I think is interesting. Yeah. I can't count the number of times we spend an entire offseason trying to create topics on shows like this, right? The topic was, who's the biggest threat to the Eagles? Who's the biggest threat to the Eagles in the NFC? You forget, the Lions were the best team in the NFC last year. Mm-hmm. The Lions were supposed to be the team to beat, even going into the playoffs, even with their entire defense hurt.
12 guys on IR.
Right? I mean, they lost everybody on defense, and they get knocked out by Washington, and the world has kind of forgotten them. Maybe they remind us.
But what Dan Campbell has done there is built a program and a culture where there was not one. And I think that's the key. Not only were they the best team last year, the year before they had a 17-point halftime lead in the NFC Championship game on the road in San Francisco.
That's right.
They believe that this thing is theirs, and all they have to do is go get it, like that. And so everything they do, and I wasn't at their camp this year. I went last year. I've seen them practice. Like everything they do is geared around this idea of we are hungry and we are we're determined to make this. I don't think the coaching staff changes. I mean, no disrespect to those guys, but I think they feel pretty good about it.
I think I read this recently, if I'm not mistaken, that Dan Campbell said, "Look, when I'm long gone, if I've done this right, it will far outlast me."
He did,
and that is what he has done. Like what you're speaking about is the fact that, hey, look, it's in place now. Everyone knows what the standard is. Like Mike Tomlin talks about the standard as a standard. He's not framing it that way, but that's what they have shown. And they know how they want to do business now.
And his impact is league-wide. Look at who's getting hired as head coaches now.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily always like the offensive guru. They're hiring Pete Carroll or Jim Harbaugh, program builder types, because they see how it can work.
And one last thing.
Is this how they got that?
Yeah, now we want the world to see you next to your photo. What do we think there? Can we freshen up this one a little bit here? This is like.
And also, guys, I don't fish like ever. Okay. I'm not fishing.
Okay, fair enough.
And who brings that to training camp?
I really don't know. The only thing I ever got at the NFL training camp was the snow cone guy. I really enjoyed. Okay, Field Yates yesterday released his 2026 mock draft, or I should say it's coming out today. Here is a preview of the top 16 players. I just want you to focus on the upper left-hand corner. That's Arch Manning. He is projecting him to go number 1. This despite the fact that Arch's legendary grandfather, Archie Manning, had said earlier this month that NFL teams shouldn't expect his grandson to be available next April.
Arch, your grandpa gave an interview where he said he expects you to be here next year. Is he right?
Yeah, I don't know where he got that from. He texted me and apologized about that, but I'm really just taking it day by day right now.
And so everybody's eyebrows go up. RC.
Yeah, Arch said, hey, I don't know if y'all ain't noticed. He said Eli and Peyton ain't my daddy. Cooper is my daddy. Hey, Arch is like, look, if I go out here and ball out and they finna tell me I'm going to go number 1 overall, guess what? I'm probably going to be in the draft. And I love that for this kid. Listen, when you have that last name, there's a level of expectation. There's a level of quarterback royal family of the NFL. But Texas is absolutely stacked. Steve Sarkisian's team has players everywhere individually.
Yeah, look, I love this body language. I love this look. He was like, I don't know. Yeah, but look, he is set up for success. Yeah, he is. This offensive line is going to be rebuilt. They're going to be strong on the But I'll tell you what, as far as the draft, and we love the draft, right?
Yeah.
I get to see Lenora Sellers week 1, okay, down in Atlanta, and an Aflac kickoff. Lenora Sellers now, I'm just telling you, look out for this dude. He can run. He has got a cannon. They have got a good program down there. Lenora Sellers. He is everything that you're looking for. I mean, let's look at some of this.
Yeah.
Look how big this kid is. Look how fast and elusive he is.
They sure would have beat LSU if he didn't get hurt.
I'm telling you, exactly.
You see it on the screen there. The Field Yates has him projected to go number 2 to the Jets via a mock trade with the Giants, which suggests he has the Jets and Giants stinking again, when all I've done is sit here talking about how much better the 2 New York teams are going to be. All of that said, I just want to go quickly back to Arch Manning.
Yeah.
Do we expect, sometimes we've had all of these, tanking for Teddy and all that kind of stuff. like that conversation starts early this season if Arch Manning is lighting it up in September, right?
Maybe. Most people I talk to around the league still would be surprised if he's in this next draft. I mean, obviously, I think he's keeping his options open, and fair enough, good for him. If he has a Joe Burrow here, right, then maybe that changes things. But remember, they picked Texas because of Steve Sarkisian. And I say they, I mean, he's involved in his own decision-making, of course, but as a family, they felt like that was the best place for him to develop. He's really just now getting a chance to actually play for Sarkisian, so I think maybe they want to,
and how about this, guys?
Do it for a while.
I hate to be this guy. What if he's not that good?
Well,
right? We expect him to be one of those players that will have an opportunity to change a franchise. But what if he needs both ears in order to reach his full potential, be everything he could possibly be? Because Quinn Ewers was a nice player. He got drafted in the 5th round. Quinn Ewers is not going to be a starting quarterback in this league. This is just me.
Yeah.
If I pay someone that much money in NIL, if their last name is Manning, and if I see them in 2 years, with the possibility of being the #1 overall pick, when Quinn Ewers gets hurt and he gets to play, Quinn never gets the spot back if he's everything people believe him to be. Let's give the kid an opportunity to show us that, not because of what his last name is, but because the tape says it.
Oh, and by the way, Lenora Sellers has shown you that.
This is not a Lenora Sellers segment.
That's right.
I'm just saying, let's just keep it real now. He's already shown you.
The Colts are rolling with Indiana Jones.